The valley was silent, but did not feel peaceful. Dark clouds covered the sky. Smoke from burning torches mixed with cold morning air. The stone platform in the center of the valley was stained with old blood. Every orc in the tribe stood around it in a wide circle. Today was Judgment Day. 2 young orc girls stood on the platform with heavy iron chains around their wrists. Their names were Lyra and Vexa. They were not warriors. They were not mothers. And in this tribe, that meant they were nothing. Lyra stood straight. Her green skin was pale, but her eyes were calm. She did not cry. She had learned long ago that tears only made the tribe angry. Vexa stood beside her. She was younger. Her hand shook slightly, but she forced herself to stay strong. Her jaw was tight. She refused to show fear. Around them, the tribe whispered, "They failed. They cannot give life. They are useless." The Orc tribe had one simple law. If you cannot give life, you have no right to live. The shamans had tested them many times. They burned herbs. They read bones. They chanted old words. Each time, the answer was the same. The girls would never bear children. For the tribe, this was a curse worse than weakness. On the far side of the circle stood the executioner. He was huge, even for an orc. His muscles were thick like stone. In his hands was a massive axe. Its blade was sharp and clean. He slowly dragged it across a whetstone. The scraping sound cut through the valley. Screech, screech, screech. Every sound felt louder than it should. The tribe leader, Chief Drogath, stepped forward. His armor was made of bone and iron. Scars covered his face. His voice was deep and heavy. "These two," he said loudly, pointing at the girls, "have failed the tribe." The crowd answered with a low growl. "They cannot give life," the chief continued. "And we cannot waste food on weakness." Vexa's breath became faster. Lyra gently moved her hand closer to her sisters, even though chains held them apart. This was the end. The chief raised his hand. The drums began. Boom, boom, boom. The rhythm was slow and heavy, like a heartbeat before death. The executioner walked toward the platform. Each step made the ground shake. Lyra closed her eyes for 1 second. Not in fear, in thought. She wondered if the tribe would ever know they were wrong. The executioner climbed the stone steps. He stood behind them and lifted the axe. The drums stopped. The valley went completely silent. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. The axe rose high into the air. And then, stop! The voice was sharp and clear. It did not belong to an orc. Every head in the valley turned. Standing near the outer ring of the tribe was a human. He was smaller than every orc around him. His clothes were simple. His hands were empty. A scar ran across his cheek, but his eyes were steady. Some orcs laughed. A human speaks? Does he want to eye too? The human stepped forward. His name was Aaron. He had been a prisoner of the tribe for 3 years. Captured during a border raid. Most humans did not survive long in orc lands. But Aaron had survived. He had learned their language. He had watched. He had listened. And now he stood between death and the 2 girls. Chief Drogath narrowed his eyes. "This is not your matter, human." Aaron did not step back. "You are killing your strongest future," he said calmly. The words hit the crowd like a stone thrown into water. Silence. The executioner lowered the axe slightly. The chief's voice turned cold. "They are weak. They cannot give life." Aaron looked at Lyra and Vexa. "They can give something greater." The tribe began to murmur. Orcs did not like riddles. The chief stepped closer to the human. He towered over him. "Speak carefully," Drogath warned, "or your blood joins theirs." Aaron took a slow breath. "Give me 30 days, he said. "If I fail, you may kill all 3 of us." Gasps spread through the tribe. Even Lyra's calm expression broke for a moment. "All 3? The chief studied him. 30 days. Drogath repeated. "Yes," Aaron said. "If I am wrong, I die first." The wind began to move again, blowing ash across the valley floor. The tribe waited for the chief's answer. The executioner still held the axe. The girls still stood in chains. And for the first time since sunrise, death paused. Chief Drogath finally spoke. "You have 30 days, human," he said slowly. "Then blood will fall." The drums did not start again. But something else had begun. and no one in the valley understood what was about to change. The valley did not cheer. It did not celebrate. It only watched. The chains were removed from Lyra and Vexa, but not as a sign of freedom. It was only a delay. 30 days. That was all they had. If the human failed, all three would die. Eren walked in front of them, not behind. Orcs noticed that. A prisoner should walk behind. A weak creature should bow his head. But Eren did neither. The tribe followed them with cold eyes as they left the slaughter ground. Some warriors laughed. 30 days will not change cursed blood. Let the human dig his own grave. Lyra walkit silently beside Eren. Vexa finally spoke in a low voice. Why? She asked. Eren did not look at her. Because they are wrong. You risk your life for us, Vexa said. We are nothing in this tribe. Eren stopped walking. He turned to face them. In your tribe, he said calmly, worth is only measured in birth. In mine, it is measured in choice. They did not fully understand his words. Orc culture did not teach philosophy. It taught survival. Eren led them to the edge of the valley, near an old abandoned watch hut made of stone and wood. No one lived there now. It was far from the main camp. This is where we stay, he said. Lyra looked around. You plan to train us? Yes. For battle? She asked. For something greater. That answer confused them again. Night came quickly. In the center of the tribe, Chief Drogath sat in his great tent. Several warriors stood before him. You trust the human too much, one warrior growled. I do not trust him, Drogath replied. I trust the law. If he fails, he dies. If he succeeds, we will see. The warriors were not satisfied. They wanted blood, not patience. Back at the hut, Eren started a small fire. He placed herbs into boiling water. Vexa frowned. We eat meat, not plants. That is the problem, Eren said quietly. For 3 years, he had observed the tribe. He had seen their strengths and their blind spots. The orcs believed strength came only from muscle and rage. But Eren knew something else. He handed them cups of bitter liquid. Drink. Lyra took it first. She did not complain. Vexa followed. The taste was terrible. It will help your blood, Eren said. Your bodies are not broken. They are different. The word different felt strange in their ears. Days passed. Eren changed their food. Less heavy meat. More roots. More herbs. Clean water. He forced them to stretch in the mornings. Not heavy lifting. Not brute force. Balance. Speed. Breathing. Orcs trained by smashing things. Eren trained by control. At first, the girls struggled. Their muscles burned in new ways. Their movements felt awkward. Warriors passed by sometimes and mocked them. They danced like elves. Human tricks will not fix cursed blood. Vexa almost attacked one of them one afternoon. Eren stopped her. Anger is easy, he said. Control is power. Meanwhile, rumors spread through the tribe. Some said the human used dark magic. Others said he was delaying their death because he feared dying alone. But something strange began to happen. Lyra's skin tone became brighter. The constant tired look in Vex's eyes slowly faded. They moved faster. They reacted quicker. Their minds felt clearer. One evening, while practicing movement drills, Lyra suddenly disarmed Eren with a sharp twist of her wrist. The wooden training blade fell from his hand. She stared at him, surprised. That was not strength, Eren said with a small smile. That was skill. For the first time in many days, Vexa laughed. But not everyone was laughing. Across the camp, 3 young warriors watched from a distance. They were strong, proud, ambitious, and they hated what they were seeing. If the human wins, one of them said, the law changes. And if the law changes, another added, our power weakens. They looked at each other. We end this before 30 days. Back at the hut, the fire crackled softly. Lyra stared into the flames. Why do you care so much? She finally asked Eren. He was silent for a long moment. Because I know what it feels like to be judged as less. The girls did not ask more. They did not need to. Above them, the night sky stretched wide and dark. Somewhere in the shadows, danger was already moving. And the 30 days had only just begun. The valley no longer whispered about death. Now it whispered about the human. 30 days. That was all Eren had. Lyra and Vexa were no longer chained to the stone platform. But they were not free. The tribe had moved them to a small wooden shelter at the edge of the camp. 2 guards stood outside at all times. If Aaron failed, the axe would fall. On the 3rd morning, Aaron sat near a small fire outside the shelter. He crushed dried leaves into a bowl using a flat stone. The smell was bitter and sharp. Lyra watched him carefully. "You think plants can change fate?" she asked quietly. Aaron did not look up. "Not fate, but bodies." Vexa frowned. "The shamans tried everything." "Yes," Aaron said. "They tried magic. I'm trying knowledge." The orcs believed strength came from blood and muscle. But Aaron had noticed something strange during his 3 years in the tribe. The orcs only ate raw meat and heavy fermented drink. They almost never ate fruits or plants. Only warriors who returned from long hunts sometimes chewed forest berries. Lyra and Vexa had always been smaller than other females. Not weak, just different. And different frightened the tribe. Aaron had watched the girls before Judgment Day. He had seen how fast they moved during work, how quickly their wounds healed compared to others, how their eyes stayed sharp even after long hours. They were not broken. They were evolving. "You do not lack life," Aaron said. "Your bodies are changing for something else." The girls did not fully understand, but they listened. Each day, Aaron left before sunrise. He searched the forest beyond the valley. He gathered roots, bitter herbs, and small red berries that grew near river stones. The guards laughed at him. "The human picks flowers," one of them said. But Aaron ignored them. At night, he mixed herbs into thick paste and added it to dried meat. He forced the girls to eat small portions of berries. "It tastes terrible," Vexa complained. "It will taste like survival soon," Aaron answered. But food was not the only change. On the 5th day, Aaron handed Lyra a wooden stick. "Attack me," he said. She blinked. "You are smaller. Attack me." She swung the stick fast and strong. Aaron stepped aside easily. "Too direct," he said. "You fight like the tribe expects." Vexa crossed her arms. "That is how we are taught." "Yes," Aaron replied. "And that is why you must learn something new." He began teaching them speed instead of brute force, balance instead of rage, movement instead of standing ground. Orcs fought like storms, loud and heavy. Aaron taught them to fight like wind, quiet and sharp. Days passed. The tribe watched. Whispers grew. On the 10th day, something changed. A young orc warrior named Brogar decided to test them. He entered the training area without warning. "So this is the future," he mocked. He pushed Vexa hard. She almost fell, but she twisted and used his force against him. Brogar stumbled forward. The watching guards grew silent. Brogar growled and attacked again, this time faster. Lyra moved behind him and tapped his leg at the right angle. Brogar crashed to the ground. It was not a brutal defeat, but it was clean. Brogar stood slowly, embarrassed. The guards stopped laughing at the human after that. That night, something else happened. Vexa cut her arm during training. It was deep. Aaron cleaned it carefully and applied crushed herbs. By morning, the wound had already closed halfway. Even Lyra stared in shock. "Others take days," she whispered. Aaron nodded slowly. "That is what I noticed long ago." He had seen this before. Small cuts that healed too fast. Bruises that faded overnight. The girls were not infertile because they were weak. Their bodies were focused on survival and adaptation. On the 15th day, Aaron finally spoke the truth he had been forming in his mind. "You are not meant to create life," he said quietly. "You are meant to protect it." The girls looked at him. "Rare blood," Aaron continued. "Your bodies fight sickness faster. You recover quicker. You move faster. This is not failure." Lyra's voice was low. "Then why did the shamans not see this?" "Because they were only looking for mothers," Aaron answered. "Not warriors." But not everyone was pleased. From the shadows of the camp, some older warriors watched with dark eyes. If the human was right, then the tribe's law was wrong. And orcs did not like being wrong. On the 17th night, one of the guards whispered to another, "If the human succeeds, the chief will look weak." And weakness invited challenge. The wind grew colder that night. Inside the small shelter, Lyra sat awake. "Do you truly believe we are something more?" she asked Aaron softly. Aaron looked at the fire. "I believe," he said slowly, "that your tribe almost killed its greatest shield." Outside, Somewhere in the dark, a branch snapped. Unseen eyes were watching. 30 days were moving fast, and not everyone wanted the human to reach the end. The wind that night felt wrong. It did not move like normal. It came in short, sharp bursts, like something was breathing in the dark. Inside the wooden shelter, the fire burned low. Lyra was awake. She had learned to sleep lightly these past days. Vexa lay beside her, finally resting after hours of training. Aaron sat near the door, sharpening a small knife. Not for battle, for cutting herbs. But his eyes were not calm. He had felt it too. Something was coming. Outside, the two guards stood near the entrance. They were bored. The human had not tried to escape. The girls had not shown rebellion. They thought the 30 days would end quietly. They were wrong. A shadow moved between the trees. Then another. 3 figures stepped silently from the darkness. Young warriors. Brogar was among them. They did not carry torches. Only blades. One guard noticed too late. A fist slammed into his jaw. He fell without a sound. The second guard reached for his axe, but a blade cut across his shoulder. He dropped. Inside the hut, Lyra stood instantly. Aaron moved toward the door. "Stay behind me," he whispered. But before he could step out, the door exploded inward. Wood shattered. Brogar entered first, rage in his eyes. "This ends tonight," he growled. Vexa grabbed a wooden staff. "Lyra site put besideher." Aaron stood in front of them. "You break the chief's order," Aaron said calmly. Brogar laughed. "Who will tell him?" "You." The other 2 warriors entered. The small shelter suddenly felt very small. They did not plan to talk. They rushed forward. Brogar swung his blade at Aaron. Aaron stepped back, barely avoiding the strike. Vexa reacted first. She moved fast, faster than any orc expected. She slid low, striking Brogar's leg behind the knee. He stumbled. Lyra grabbed a fallen wooden beam and swung it across the second warrior's chest. He grunted in pain. The third warrior lunged toward Aaron, but Aaron ducked and used a small knife not to stab, but to slice the strap holding the warrior's armor. The heavy chest plate fell, slowing him. This was not brute force. This was control. Brogar roared and charged again. This time, Vexa did not meet him head-on. She stepped aside and used his speed against him, pushing his shoulder at the exact moment his balance shifted. He crashed through the broken door and rolled into the dirt outside. Lyra followed quickly, staff ready. The fight moved outside under the cold moonlight. The injured guard tried to stand, confused and bleeding. The 2 remaining attackers charged together. For a moment, it looked bad. Orcs were strong. Stronger than humans. Stronger than Lyra and Vexa. One warrior grabbed Lyra's arm and threw her hard to the ground. Vexa shouted and attacked blindly. Aaron saw it happening. "No," he yelled. "Control." Vexa froze for half a second. Then she remembered. Not rage. Control. She stepped back, waited for the warrior's next move, and struck at his ankle just as he shifted weight. He fell. Lyra rolled to her feet and slammed the staff against his wrist. His blade dropped. Brogar stood again, furious and humiliated. He charged at Aaron with full force. Aaron could not match him in strength, but he did not need to. At the last second, Aaron stepped sideways and pulled on Brogar's arm while kicking his leg forward. Momentum did the rest. Brogar hit the ground hard, and before he could rise, Lyra placed the staff at his throat. Breathing heavy, eyes steady, silence filled the clearing. The attackers were down, alive, but defeated. Torches began to light up across the camp. Orcs were waking up. They had heard the noise. Within minutes, Chief Drogath arrived, armor half-worn, eyes burning. He saw the broken door, the injured guards, the 3 young warriors on the ground, and Lyra standing with a weapon at Brogar's throat. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the chief's voice cut through the air. "Explain." Brogar tried to speak first, but blood dripped from his lip. Aaron stepped forward. "They came to end your trial early." The tribe gathered quickly. Murmurs spread. Chief Drogath looked at the 3 attackers. "You disobeyed my order." Brogar lowered his eyes. Silence. Then the chief turned to Lyra and Vexa. "You defended yourselves without killing." Lyra lowered the staff. "Yes, chief." Drogath studied them carefully. Something had changed. They did not look weak. They did not look cursed. They stood calm after battle. That was new. The chief finally spoke. The trial continues. Brogar and the others were dragged away. The crowd slowly returned to their homes. But the whispers were different now. Not about failure. About strength. Inside the broken shelter, Vexa sat down, hands shaking. Lyra looked at Aaron. You knew this would happen. Aaron stared at the dark forest. I hoped it would not. The fire inside the hut was gone. But something else had ignited. The tribe had seen it now. These girls were not prey. And there were only 13 days left. 29 days had passed. The valley felt heavier than before. Not with drums. Not with death chants. With tension. Word had spread through the entire tribe. The human had not failed. The two useless girls had not grown weak. They had grown faster, sharper, more controlled, and that made many warriors uncomfortable. On the morning of the final day, the tribe gathered again in the Stone Valley. The same platform, the same place where blood was supposed to fall. But this time there were no chains. Lyra and Vexa walked freely behind Aaron. Their steps were steady. Their backs were straight. They did not look like prisoners anymore. They looked like something else. Chief Drogath stood at the center. His expression was hard, but his eyes were thinking. You asked for 30 days, the chief said loudly. They are over. The crowd went silent. Aaron stepped forward. Yes. Speak, human, Drogath ordered. Explain why their blood should not fall today. All eyes turned to Aaron. He did not shout. He did not beg. He simply spoke clearly. You judge them by one purpose, he said. But strength has more than one form. Murmurs moved through the crowd. One warrior shouted, They cannot give life. Aaron nodded calmly. That is true. Gasps. Even Lyra and Vexa stiffened slightly. But they can protect it. The chief narrowed his eyes. Words are wind. Prove this. Aaron turned slightly and gestured to Lyra. 3 volunteers, he said. The crowd laughed. But 3 young warriors stepped forward. The same ones who had attacked their camp at night. They wanted revenge. They wanted the human to fail. First blood, one of them growled. No kiling drogat kemandith. The 3 warriors rushed forward at once. Lyra did not charge. She waited. The first warrior swung hard and wide. She stepped aside and struck the back of his knee. He collapsed instantly. The second tried to grab her shoulders. She twisted, used his weight, and sent him crashing onto his back. The third aimed for her head. Vexa moved before Lyra could. She blocked, turned, and hit him directly in the chest with precise force. Not wild strength. Controlled impact. He fell backward and stayed down. The entire valley froze. It had taken less than 10 seconds. No brute force. No die. Just speed and precision. Chief Drogath did not smile. But he did not look angry either. Strength, he said slowly, can be trained. Aaron nodded. Yes, but there is more. He turned toward the elders and shamans. You tested them for birth, he said. But you never tested their blood. The head shaman stepped forward, offended. We know our rituals. You know tradition, Aaron replied calmly. Not biology. The word confused many. Aaron walked toward the chief. In 3 years, he said, I have seen something your tribe ignores. Their wounds close faster. Their bodies fight sickness better. Their stamina lasts longer. The crowd grew uneasy. These are not signs of weakness, Aaron continued. These are signs of adaptation. The chief crossed his arms. Adaptation to what? To survival, Aaron answered. Silence filled the valley again. Aaron looked at the tribe one last time before saying the words he had prepared for weeks. You think their bodies failed to create life, but maybe their bodies chose to preserve it instead. Whispers spread like fire. One older warrior growled. You claim they're special? I claim, Aaron said, that your law almost killed your greatest defense. The head shaman stepped forward angrily. Old legends speak of warrior blood, but that is myth. Is it? Aaron asked quietly. The elder hesitated. Long ago, stories have been told of rare orcs who healed fast, who survived wounds that killed others. They were called Shieldborn, but those stories had faded with time. Chief Drogath's eyes slowly moved from Aaron to Lyra to Vexa. If you are right, he said slowly, then why were they born so rarely? Aaron did not hesitate. Because evolution does not create many shields. It creates few, and they must survive. The words hit deeper than the axe ever could. For the first time, the tribe did not see two failed daughters. They saw possibility, but not everyone accepted it. From the back of the crowd, a massive figure stepped forward. Gorvok, the tribe's strongest champion. If they are shields, Gorvok roared, then let them shield against me. The crowd gasped. Gorvok had never been defeated. Chief Drogath looked at Aaron. One final test, the chief said. Not skill, not theory. He looked at Lyra and Vexa. Strength against strength. The arena gates were opened. Dust rose into the air. Gorvok stepped inside. The tribe began to chant. Lyra and Vexa looked at Aaron. He did not look afraid. Remember, he said softly, you are not here to overpower him. They nodded. They understood. As they stepped into the arena, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. The final test had begun, and this time, it was not about proving survival. It was about changing the future. The arena had not seen silence like this in years. Dust moved slowly across the ground. The sun stood high above, burning down on the circle of packed earth and stone. In the center stood Gorvok, massive, scarred, unshaken. He was the tribe's strongest champion. His shoulders were wide like a wall. His fists were thick like stone hammers. Every warrior in the valley respected him. Many feared him. Across from him stood Lyra and Vexa. No chance, no fear, only focus. The tribe formed a wide ring around the arena. Chief Drogath sat on the raised stone seat above them all. His face showed nothing. Aaron stood outside the circle. He could not help them now. This was their moment. Gorvok cracked his neck and looked at the girls with a heavy stare. You fight together, he said, or die together. Lyra nodded once. Vexa rolled her shoulders and took a slow breath. The signal drum struck once. Boom! Gorvok moved first. He charged like a falling tree. Fast, heavy, unstoppable. Vexa jumped aside at the last second. The ground shook where Gorvok's fist landed. Dust exploded into the air. Lyra tried to strike his side, but her staff bounced off his thick arm. It was like hitting stone. The crowd roared. That is real strength. Gorvok turned quickly and swung backward with his elbow. It hit Lyra in the chest and sent her sliding across the dirt. The air left her lungs. For a moment, the tribe thought it was over. But she stood up, slowly, steady, no anger in her eyes, only calculation. Vexa circled to the left, Lyra to the right. They did not rush. They watched. Gorvok smiled. You danced too much. He lunged at Vexa. She stepped back again, but this time she did not fully escape. His fist clipped her shoulder. Pain shot down her arm. She almost lost balance. The crowd shouted in excitement. Aaron's hands tightened, but he said nothing. Control. That was the key. Gorvok charged again, aiming for Vexa. But this time Lyra moved first. She struck the back of Gorvok's knee with perfect timing. He stumbled slightly, only slightly, but it was enough. Vexa recovered and kicked low at his ankle. The movement was fast, precise. Gorvok dropped to one knee. The arena gasped. No one had ever forced him down before. Gorvok roared in fury and slammed his fist into the ground. Dirt flew everywhere. Lyra lost her footing and fell. Gorvok grabbed her arm and lifted her into the air. The tribe cheered wildly. This was the strength they understood. He prepared to throw her across the arena. But Vexa did something unexpected. She did not attack his body. She attacked his grip. With sharp speed, she struck the inside of his wrist, the nerve point Aaron had shown them many times. Gorvok's hand opened by reflex. Lyra dropped safely and rolled away. The crowd grew quieter now. Gorvok stood fully again, breathing harder. The girls were breathing hard too. They were smaller, lighter, but they were not breaking. Minutes passed. Gorvok attacked again and again. Heavy blows, wide swings, powerful kicks. Each time, the girls avoided direct impact. They let his force move past them. They struck joints, ankles, wrists. They did not fight his strength. They redirected it. Sweat rolled down Gorvok's face. For the first time in many battles, he was tiring. The tribe noticed. Whispers replaced cheers. How are they still standing? Gorvok roared one final time and charged with everything he had. Both girls moved at the same instant. Vexa slid low under his arm. Lyra leapt and struck his shoulder joint. Gorvok's momentum carried him forward. He lost balance and crashed face first into the dirt. The ground shook. Dust filled the arena. Silence. No one moved. Gorvok tried to rise. He pushed once, twice, but his arms trembled. He stayed down. Lyra and Vexa stood behind him, breathing hard but steady. They did not raise weapons. They did not celebrate. They waited. Chief Drogath slowly stood from his seat. The tribe looked at him. The law said strength decided worth. And today, strength had taken a new shape. Drogath walked into the arena himself. He looked down at Gorvok, then at the girls. You did not overpower him, the chief said slowly. No, Lida answered. We endured, Vexa added. Drogath's eyes shifted toward Aaron. The human did not speak. He did not need to. After a long moment, the chief raised his voice. Gorvok is not weak. The tribe nodded. But today, Drogath continued, we have seen another kind of power. Silence stretched across the valley. Then he said the words no one expected. The law will be questioned. A wave of shock moved through the tribe. For orcs, law was stone, and stone did not move. Until today, as the sun lowered behind the mountains, one truth became clear. They had not just won a fight. They had cracked tradition itself. And tomorrow, the tribe would decide what to do with that crack. The valley did not sleep that night. Fires burned longer than usual. Warriors spoke in low voices. Elders argued inside the chief's tent. The fight in the arena had done more than shock the tribe. It had divided it. Some said the girls were a miracle. Others said the tribe was becoming soft. And at the center of it all stood Chief Drogath. At sunrise, the great horn sounded. Not for battle, not for execution, for decision. The entire tribe gathered once more at the stone platform, the same place where Lyra and Vexa had almost died. But this time they did not stand in chains. They stood at the front of the tribe. Gorvok was there too, his face still bruised, his pride wounded but not broken. Aaron stood quietly behind them, hands at his sides. Chief Drogath stepped forward. For generations, he began, his voice strong and steady. Our law has been simple. The tribe answered together, like they had been trained since childhood. If you cannot give life, you have no right to live. The words echoed across the valley. Drogath let the silence settle. Yesterday, he continued, we saw something our law did not consider. He turned toward Lyra and Vexa. They cannot give birth. That remains true. Some warriors nodded firmly. But, Drogath said louder, they can protect this tribe in ways few others can. The murmuring began immediately. One older warrior stepped forward angrily. If we change law for 2 females, what happens next? Chaos. Another shouted, strength is muscle, not tricks. Before Drogath could answer, Gorvok stepped forward. The crowd quieted. Gorvok did not look at the chief. He looked at the tribe. I have never fallen in the arena, he said heavily. Not once. He paused. Yesterday I fell. Silence. They did not defeat me with brute force, Gorvok admitted. They defeated my arrogance. That word hit harder than any punch. Arrogance. Some warriors lowered their heads. Gorvok continued, if our law ignores strength because it looks different, then our law is blind. No one expected those words from him. Drogath studied his champion carefully. Then he raised his voice again. Our tribe survives because we adapt, he said. When winters grow longer, we change hunting paths. When enemies grow stronger, we change tactics. He stepped down from the stone platform and stood directly before Lyra and Vexa. And now, we must decide if our law can adapt. The elders stepped forward. The shaman stood beside them. For a long moment, they spoke in low voices. Aaron remained silent. This was no longer his battle. Finally, Drogath raised his hand. The law will change. Gasps. Whispers. Shalt. From this day forward, Drogath declared, worth in this tribe will not be measured by birth alone. The words felt heavy in the air. If an orc cannot give life, he continued, but proves strength, endurance, and protection, they will live. The valley stood frozen. Then something unexpected happened. An old female orc stepped forward from a crowd. Her body was scarred from past wars. "I lost 3 sons in battle," she said. "I would have chosen a shield over a womb if it kept them alive." Others began to nod. The resistance weakened. The law did not shatter. It shifted. Drogath turned toward Lyra and Vexa. "You were sent to slaughter," he said. "Today, you stand as warriors." He removed 2 iron bands from his own armor and placed one on each of their wrists. The mark of tribe defenders. The crowd did not cheer loudly, but they did not protest. Acceptance in orc culture was quiet. Then Drogath looked at Aaron. "You are still human," he said. Aaron gave a small nod. "You interfered with our tradition." "Yes." "You challenged our law." "Yes." The chief's eyes narrowed slightly. "And you were right." That sentence felt heavier than all the rest. The tribe murmured again. Drogath spoke clearly so all could hear. "You are no longer prisoner." A guard stepped forward and removed the last iron collar from Aaron's neck. "For 3 years, you survived among us," Drogath continued. "Now you remain by choice." Aaron looked at Lyra and Vexa. They were not victims anymore. They were symbols. "I will stay," Aaron said quietly. "Not as master, not as ruler, but as teacher." The sun rose fully over the valley, casting long light across the stone platform. The same platform that once promised death. Now it marked change. Lyra looked out at the tribe. "They try to end us," she said softly to Vexa. Vexa gave a small smile. "And instead, we ended an old law." The drums began again, not slow and heavy, but steady and strong. They had been sent to die for not giving life. Instead, they gave their tribe a future it had never imagined. And in the valley of stone and blood, something rare had grown. Not just strength, but evolution.